These have been incredibly tough days for our city and for our residents. And let me start by thanking everybody for your resilience, for your incredible generosity, and for keeping calm in the face of a threat unlike any we've ever experienced before. Tonight, I want to reassure you of two things. First, our city is strong. We've been through challenging moments in our past, and we will get through this. But second, our city is not shutting down. We're not planning to do so, and we never will. In fact, over this weekend, your county, city governments have been working hand in hand to make sure that every minute we are responsive and ready to continue to serve everyone in the midst of this crisis. This is an absolutely critical moment in our city's history. We've had past difficulties, whether they are earthquakes, unrest, fires, but unlike the heroic work we saw just last year in the fires that ravaged our city and our incredible first responders, my message tonight is this: we are all first responders. This isn't just someone else's responsibility, but it is the responsibility of each one of us. Your actions matter, and they can and will save lives. And so many of us are abiding by the steps that we've asked Angelenos to take, and I want to say thank you to everybody here. Avoiding non-essential travel and large gatherings, washing our hands thoroughly and frequently, isolating ourselves if we're feeling sick, and practicing social distancing. Let me spend a moment on this last point because it cannot be undersold, and not all Angelenos are following through. I drove through the city today, and while it looked like a holiday with very little traffic, I could see myself and all of us know of individuals who are saying, this doesn't apply to me. I'm going to get through this. I'm strong, I'm healthy, maybe I'm young, it's not going to statistically take me. But know that our actions aren't just about ourselves. Our decisions will determine the fate of loved ones. Our decisions and actions will determine the length of this crisis, the damage done to our economy, and ultimately how quickly we will get back up on our feet. So I have a very strong message to all Angelenos to continue to practice social distancing and to know you're not just doing it for yourself. We all have a loved one, a parent or a grandparent, a friend who's under treatment for cancer or has a compromised immune system. We all need to do our part to save the lives of our loved ones and not just ourselves. My first priority as your mayor is to protect you and your families and loved ones, which is why in recent days we've done everything we can, from prohibiting shutoffs of water and power, and proud to see our gas company has joined us in that effort. It's why tonight we announce also a moratorium on evictions for our renters. You can be rest assured that you will not lose your housing during this crisis because you can't make the rent. And tonight, that, as well as a few other things, I've put into a new place of new restrictions that will govern our work moving forward in this city. I've signed an order tonight that will do the following. It prevents people from gathering in close proximity by banning and closing our bars and nightclubs. Second, restaurants and retail facilities, we will now have prohibited on-site food, but permitted for delivery, takeout, and drive-through. Again, restaurants will be closed for dining inside those restaurants, but they will be places where we can take out, have delivery from, or drive through. And I encourage all Angelenos to help support these critical small businesses, the restaurants we love in our neighborhoods, by continuing to order from them and getting pickup or delivery. Groceries, pharmacies, and food banks are, of course, exempt from this order of closure. Movie theaters, though, performance venues, bowling alleys, arcades, gyms, and fitness centers will be closed to the public. And we're urging houses of worship to limit gatherings on their premises. We have an incredible Constitution and a First Amendment. So while we can't mandate that churches or mosques or synagogues close, please, we are asking you to close them and to do everything in your power to make sure that we don't spread any more of the COVID-19 through these houses of worship. These restrictions go into effect at midnight tonight through March 31st unless they are rescinded earlier or extended further. I want to stress that I have not taken these steps lightly. To some, it may feel wrong, but I would say it's exactly when things feel wrong that it is the right time to do them. And when things feel right, it's too late. We need to take these steps to protect our city right now. Our best public health experts at CDC say that large crowds and events are the biggest contributors to the spread of COVID-19, and that gatherings of 50 people or more should be postponed or canceled over the next few weeks. Keeping a safe distance from each other literally will save lives, if not yours, that of someone you love, and will help as we slow the spread. If we can push the curve out instead of pushing it up of infection, we can make sure that our health facilities are not overwhelmed, are not so overwhelmed by people coming to emergency rooms and looking for beds that we can't serve folks that suffer from other ailments as well. I know that this will have an impact on our economy, on small businesses, and on workers, which is why I've included the moratorium on evictions as much as we can, not only for our residents, but I've asked our city attorney to look at whether we can legally prevent commercial evictions for businesses and restaurants that are affected. If we can help these businesses, these workers, and each other get through these weeks, we know we can help get them back on their feet. On top of these actions in the order tonight, let me update Los Angeles about some of the other things that are going on as well. Our libraries, rec centers, and zoo remain closed. Seniors will still get meals, and we'll work on the county with key programs to expand Meals on Wheels and delivery to those that are most vulnerable, and taking the advice of our governor, if you're 65 and over, to limit or to completely restrict contact with others. Starting Wednesday, I know that many parents are worried about our schools, and tomorrow and Tuesday, those schools will no longer be open. On Wednesday, the school district will be opening 60 centers where students and families can get food, and 40 of those are parent resource centers, where we can make sure that not only you can grab and get food, but that there will also be programming, police, and a safe environment for children to be properly distanced from each other, but in a secure setting. Hoarding is the next thing I want to talk about. I've spoken loud and clear the last few days about this, but we please implore you not to panic buy. I've been talking daily with our Grocers Association, and they assure me not only is there plenty of food for tomorrow, but there's plenty for next week and next month and months ahead. Tomorrow I'll be visiting one of those distribution centers so you can see it with your own eyes. But those folks that are buying for more than a week of food, buying for a month or even months of food, this is the effect that it's having. Some people who need food can't get it. The crowds at grocery stores are unsafe public health environments. And I want to thank the grocery workers who are doing heroic jobs right now, making sure that families are fed. But you hoarding or buying too much is putting them at danger as well. So shop, food is coming. We're working with the grocers to ensure that it will continue coming, and know that the stores are going to be filled for months to come. We also remind folks that their water won't be cut off, and that water that comes out of their faucet is actually cleaner than the water that's in the bottles. So know that your power will be on, know that you will have water, get the food that you need, and look out for each other and those folks who need your help. We've also been working closely, and I want to thank Catherine Barger, who is the chair of our County Board of Supervisors, and all our supervisors and county officials, especially Dr. Barbara Ferrer, who leads up our County Public Health Department. We convened in this room on Friday the medical officers and CEOs of all the major hospitals in LA County and many of the medical systems as well, to see what we could do to assist them in this critical period, whether it's supplies and finding out what they need, or looking at spacing out if we have too many cases for them to handle. In public facilities like our convention center or rec centers, the ability to treat people and to diagnose them outside the hospitals, we're working closely together to make sure that we can deal with the number of cases that will come forward. I also want to give a warning to everybody that we've seen tons of misinformation. I think everybody watching this probably knows what I'm talking about. A text stream, a bit of gossip. We've even seen robocalls paid for by people with untruths, saying things like roads are closed or the port is shutting down. I would encourage you to only go to those official sources, lacity.org, lacounty.gov, to get information, as well as, of course, our CDC websites and the state. There are many people who have gotten texts. There are those who are trying to perpetrate fraud against people. Listen to those folks who have official information and make sure that we remain calm. I also know that so many of you have asked, Mayor, how can I help? What can I do to help that restaurant worker or that senior? What can I do to ensure that healthcare worker will have childcare and can get to the hospital to show up for work? What can I do for our homeless brothers and sisters that are out there on the streets? And to that end, we have set up a place where private corporations, individuals, and foundations can give to initiatives in each of those areas. If you go to coronavirus.lacity.org, you can click there and donate, just as so many people did during the fires to help our firefighters get badly needed equipment. We have so many frontline workers, from, of course, the nurses and assistants, the cleaners and doctors that are in our hospitals, to the folks that are working in our supply chain, those grocery clerks, those truck drivers, and others that are doing amazing work, our food preparers who we want to keep in business and who are making sure that we all have the nutrition that we need. So please do go to coronavirus.lacity.org and support the work that we are doing. Let me close by being clear. The work that we do today will have an impact not only on those that we love, but the city's history. This chapter, which we are writing together, one in which I feel strongly we need to do everything we can now, before it's too late, to limit the spread of this virus, will be the flowers that will bloom later, when we get through this together. We are a city of angels, and I see those angels every single day. The father who told me about his daughters who are slipping pieces of paper under doors in houses in their neighborhood to find out if those folks who live there are over 65 and what they can do to help bring them food. The way people have stepped forward and maybe ordered a couple extra meals for folks to make sure that that restaurant nearby can stay open. The assistance that people have gotten to folks who are worried that they're going to become homeless because they can't pay the rent because suddenly they've been laid off or they have fewer hours. This is not just a great city, it is a good city, made good by each one of us here tonight. So stay calm, keep prepared, don't make a run on food, don't listen to the gossip, do what you can to help one another, and please, for these 2 weeks, make sure you keep your distance, that you wash your hands, and that you realize that you are that first responder, part of a heroic response to this challenge. With that, we're doing this a little differently than most press conferences, and we'll be taking questions, but for those of you who are watching, we don't have press here with us. They're asking remotely. So I'll be responding to those questions as they come from my deputy directly from the press. And thank you all so much again for tuning in, listening in. This is a briefing that will happen every single day while this crisis is on. And after I'm done with my questions and answers, I'll also be speaking in Spanish to our residents who speak Spanish in the city of Los Angeles as well. I'll take the first question.
Is the mayor going to close movie theaters, as de Blasio has done in New York?
Yes, the question is whether or not we close movie theaters. That is included, as I mentioned, in the order. So movie theaters, gymnasiums, nightclubs, bars, restaurants for eating in there, but the restaurants won't close down. Again, we encourage people to order from them and to keep them going.
Do you think small businesses will have to close? What do you plan to do to help them? What can regular people do?
So small businesses, we are putting together a fund for this week. And know that those donations that you make are ones that will help keep small businesses going. We'll have a loan assistance program that will roll out later this week that will allow as many as 400 businesses immediately, most hard hit by this, to be able to pay their rent, pay their employees, and stay afloat. I'll be asking state leaders and our federal government, who I would implore the Senate to pass what the House has already passed and which the White House has agreed upon. Not something you hear a lot, but when you have Nancy Pelosi and Donald Trump agreeing on something, the Senate should have passed it this weekend, and I can't think of anything more important for them to do. But to get that assistance to small businesses, to be able to push off some of the tax payments that they may have to make. The state, I know, is looking at mirroring that same thing as well. And then for the employees themselves, of course, the extension of benefits for both unemployment, for those folks who need family and sick leave, and also the expansion of SNAP, known as food stamps, so that we can make sure that there is nutrition for all who live here in this country. Next question.
What is your position on the lack of testing and contact tracing that needs to take place in conjunction with a social distancing strategy? The lack of those other strategies is expected to prolong the need to use social distancing, exacerbating the economic effects that come out of using that strategy. What are you and the city able to do at this time to call for more action on the testing and contact tracing front?
Thank you for the question about testing, and it was one of the main things that we talked about in this room with all of our hospitals. There's no question there was dereliction of duty when it came to getting tests quickly throughout this country. Thanks to the action of this state, there are many tests that came, but many of them didn't have the agents that they needed. And thanks that we're in Southern California, we have private labs like Quest Labs and others that are supplementing the public health lab here. But the bottom line is very few tests relative to the number we would like are still being done. They're getting to those who are the hardest hit and those who are most vulnerable. But right now, we need to know what the spread of this is. So we have, with a singular voice, together with mayors across the country and across the state, continued to ask Washington to get us more tests and to get them to us more quickly. A couple bright spots with the tests that have been done so far is of the ones that have been done by the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health, folks who have already been seen to have coronavirus-like symptoms. 3 out of 4 of those, 75%, are coming up negative and only 25% positive. That's a good sign. In the private labs, the first couple days, these are just the first couple days, the number is even bigger, 96% negative and 4% positive. Again, that may be some people who have access to doing that privately through their hospitals, and what only gets reported is the number of cases that are hits. So those are decent signs, but right now, these 2 weeks are critical. And the question said the social distancing will be determined, the length of it, by also the testing regimes. We can't get more tests fast enough, and we'll continue to be very outspoken about demanding those as soon as possible.
In response to Governor Gavin Newsom announcing that people 65 and older stay home, what about those who work? Can they still come to work on a daily basis? Is this guideline mandatory, and how will it be enforced?
So the governor today spoke about people who are 65 and over, who are at the greatest risk. It is not a mandate, nor are we making a mandate tonight. Many of the other parts of the order tonight were recommended by the governor, and we are bringing into law, and in a couple cases going further, for instance, with the closing of eating in restaurants. That said, this is up to the judgment of every individual, but we encourage anybody who can stay away from work, please do. If you can afford to, either work remotely or stay away. If you are retired already, please stay home. Figure out, I know that for a lot of our seniors, they might not be as used to using food delivery apps and others. That's a great way that children and grandchildren can help their parents and grandparents. And look out for those neighbors who you know who might be more isolated seniors all around. Our Department of Aging, together with the County of Los Angeles, is also reaching out to those seniors we know are living the most isolated lives to make sure they get the Meals on Wheels and the deliveries that they need as well. But wherever possible, please don't go out for your own safety, but that is not something that has been mandated.
Will the city of LA close its buildings like the county? If so, starting when? And how many buildings will close?
The City of LA has closed City Hall and the City Hall complex. We've also closed many of our main buildings, including the library, our rec centers. We will keep some basic buildings that are open, that are important to business, but no more than 50 individuals are allowed in there at any time to make sure that people can still get the permits that they need to keep people working and that basic critical economic work of the city. That was in last week's measures. You can find the details of that at lamayor.org, but we closed those. The county has also following suit with county buildings, and we will continue to make sure that that access is limited. Here at City Hall, I know also our boards and commissions and the City Council will be abiding by public comment remotely, allowing people some teleconference way of either calling in and or using a FaceTime-like app to be able to give testimony without coming in person, though I'll leave that for the City Council to detail. Boards and commissions under my jurisdiction will be using that and reducing the number of meetings during this crisis.
On the topic of access to public meetings during a time of social distancing and when seniors are being told to stay at home, will the city expand remote comment over phone telephone? And will LA move to stream all commission meetings online when they start up again?
Yes, building on what I just spoke about, we will be having a teleconferencing and telephone ability to give public comment, and we are looking at a way for all of our commissions to also be streamed, or as you can do right now, call in. We'll be adding that at least telephonically, if not with teleconference facility, to ensure that folks can see that government as it's going. Even though the governor did suspend some parts of the Brown Act, we will go as far as we can to abide above and beyond that for public comment.
The last question in English before we move to Spanish. What is your plan for dealing with the homeless and the novel coronavirus outbreak?
Thank you. So this question, too, is very near and dear to my heart, and I know to so many Angelenos. And today we heard some guidance from the governor, who is working together with us to look at motels, which right now, of course, are underoccupied, and even hotels, as places that we can take our unhoused Angelenos and house them as quickly as possible. We hope that comes with the resources from the state, and we're very optimistic that it will, and appreciate the governor's leadership on this. We also have been out there over 250 hand sanitizing stations and hand washing stations in encampments around Los Angeles. And all homeless outreach work has suspended in terms of normal services and is focused just on coronavirus and trying to identify people who have symptoms and making sure that we can get them the medical treatment they need as soon as possible. We also are looking at other ways that we can make sure, for instance, in our parks, that our bathrooms are clean, that some of our part-time workers who might not be working doing the normal programming can make sure that those are available for folks who are living without housing, because sanitation is so important during this time, and to make sure that they can live with those sanitary conditions. We hope to also, of the 12 new shelters that are open, we have plans of 14 more to open, representing more than 2,000 beds by July 1st. We're trying to speed that up as rapidly as possible and work, again, with any place we can put folks right now, especially those who exhibit symptoms. Lastly, we've purchased isolation units where folks can go into. If we move folks, for instance, into recreation centers or others, if anybody has those symptoms of coronavirus going into COVID-19, we want to make sure that they're isolated and that we can bring them as quickly as possible to a medical facility. And our hospitals have assured us it doesn't matter whether you're housed or unhoused, it doesn't matter your immigration status. If there's a bed available, it's going to be open, ready, and available for you on an equal basis for all Angelenos. Let me say a few words in Spanish as well. Muy buenas tardes, Los Ángeles, y gracias por esta oportunidad de hablar con ustedes. Yo sé que muchos angelinos están preocupados ahora sobre la amenaza de coronavirus. Cada uno de nosotros puede y debe ser activamente trabajando para prevenir la propagación de este virus. Tenemos que hacer decisiones inteligentes para protegernos uno al otro. Por esto estamos iniciando unas medidas temporales para cerrar todos los bares y las discotecas que no sirven comida y prohibir a los restaurantes que servir comida a clientes que cenan en público. Adicionalmente, todos los cines y lugares de actuación, pistas de bolos y arcadas, gimnasios y centros de aptitud y lugares de adoración cerrarán al público por este momento. Estas restricciones nuevas entrarán en vigor a medianoche y serán efectivas hasta el 31 de marzo en este año, a menos que se extiendan. Las acciones que tomamos hoy ayudarán a bajar la propagación de COVID-19 y evitarán a poner en peligro nuestros hospitales y nuestros trabajadores de salud. Y gracias a los trabajadores en hospitales, en nuestros mercados y otras, ustedes son héroes y su trabajo es increíble durante esta crisis. Al mantener nuestra distancia de uno al otro y lavando nuestras manos frecuentemente, este aviso es muy importante porque nosotros podemos salvar las vidas de nuestras familias, vecinos y colegas. Y podemos proteger a los angelinos más vulnerables, incluyendo los que tienen más de 65 años. Esto no es para siempre. Saldremos de esto juntos. Somos una ciudad de los ángeles. Y gracias por los actos de amor, de amistad, de generosidad durante este periodo. Nosotros ganaremos esta lucha juntos. With that, I want to thank folks again. Are we taking some questions in Spanish too? Okay.
Unas preguntas en español. ¿Nos puede hablar un poco sobre el distanciamiento social?
El distanciamiento social es crítico. 6 pies. Las personas en esta ciudad pueden prevenir la contagión de este virus en el público. La mayoría de los residentes están parte de esta estrategia, pero desafortunadamente muchas personas no son parte de este distanciamiento social. Esta es la diferencia de semanas o meses de esta crisis. Por favor, mantengan su distancia.
¿Qué servicios públicos serán afectados empezando el día de mañana?
Los servicios públicos, no hay nuevos servicios públicos, no están abiertos, pero en la semana pasada cerramos las bibliotecas, los parques, los centros por personas de tercera edad y la alcaldía aquí. Las reuniones del Consejo Municipal, nuestras comisiones continuarán, pero sin comento en persona. Es importante a toda la gente a saber que continuaremos con todas las funciones críticas del gobierno, pero necesitamos asistir a nuestros colegas en el condado y los hospitales y el distrito escolar. Y hay muchos padres que ahora tienen sus hijos en casa. Nosotros asistiremos también con el distrito escolar, con programas, comida y seguridad por sus niños. Este miércoles es la empieza de esta estrategia en 60 centros de ayuda por servicios por las familias.
¿Qué es lo más importante que debe tener en cuenta la comunidad en los próximos días y por qué hay que evitar las compras de pánico?
Es muy importante prevenir el pánico. Hay suficiente comida, por ejemplo. En todos los mercados, cada día hay comida suficiente, no solamente por días o por semanas, pero por meses. Y cuando tú compras mucho comida, desafortunadamente hay una amenaza a los trabajadores, a usted, y también necesitamos traer comida a nuestras personas de tercera edad. Es muy importante no comprar mucha comida en nuestros mercados. También es muy importante para prevenir el contacto en los bares, en los restaurantes, y este orden es una reflexión de esta estrategia. Estas próximas 2 semanas son críticas al futuro de nuestra ciudad, nuestra economía y la vida de nuestras familias. Por eso, muchas veces no se siente correcta tomar estas acciones, pero este es exactamente el tiempo correcto a tomar estas acciones.
¿Cómo deben prepararse los bares, clubes nocturnos y bodegas locales durante estos cierres?
Durante este tiempo hay muchos trabajadores en estos restaurantes, bares, discotecas, etc. Y tenemos fondos a asistirles en este tiempo difíciles. Estamos trabajando también con programas a asistir directamente a estos negocios, con asistencia, con dinero directamente en estas próximas semanas. Pero yo tengo un mensaje directo a Washington también. Necesitamos que usted pase, especialmente en el Senado, este estímulos, esta legislación a asistir a la gente de Los Ángeles y todos los residentes de los Estados Unidos, con asistencia por los desempleos, también food stamps y más oportunidades a trabajar en casa o a tomar las vacaciones que necesitamos para cuidar por nuestras familias. Este es urgente y espero que mañana el Senado pasará esta legislación. Nosotros podemos asistir, los negocios, los trabajadores, y hay donaciones también que nosotros queremos del público. Y al sitio de internet coronavirus.lacity.org, coronavirus.lacity.org. Otra vez, muchísimas gracias a toda la gente de Los Ángeles por su generosidad, por su espíritu. Estamos muy fuertes cuando estamos juntos y en estos días continuaremos a luchar y ganar esta lucha. Gracias. Thank you again to everybody who's joined us, who've stayed through both the Spanish and the English. And I want to assure you that everybody here is working around the clock to continue to safeguard the city. And I hope that you all will take that personal responsibility for the actions we can do to save lives in the next couple days. Thank you. God bless Los Angeles. God bless this country and this world. And together we will get through this. Thank you.
Spread of disease, and then people will probably say, well, what did we have to worry about? It wasn't so bad here. But that's the paradox of public health, is if it works, then you don't get a lot of accolades for stopping something, because it just